Coming up on this episode of One-on-One Sports,
we'll discuss the Stephen A. Smith, Kevin Durant showdown.
And our experts pitch their cities for NHL expansion.
And we'll end the show in style by talking about the curse of T. Swift.
All that and so much more.
And it all starts
right now.
Welcome back to One-on-One Sports. I'm Ben Greenberg.
And I'm Connor DelPrete. Kobe Bryant is back on the court for the Lakers with a 1-for-5 shooting night in a preseason game, including his first shot hitting the side of the backboard. So, in light of this, me and Ben are going to give you a 5 out of 5 with these quick hitters.
An appellate court ruled last Wednesday on the Ed Brobrannon case. The court ruled saying that NCAA is in violation of antitrust laws by restricting athlete compensation. However, the court did strike down a part of the previous ruling that could have allowed students to receive deferred payment up to $5,000. The case could be headed for the Supreme Court. So, Connor, do you foresee a settlement here? What do you think will happen?
I think it's tough to say. It's tough to see a settlement in the near future, that's for sure. I mean, the NCAA might want to end their 6-year battle with this case and the legal costs that come with it, but what is the solution that comes out of this? I find it very hard for them to find an easy solution in a quick period of time. This is going to take multiple years, I think.
I want to take the big picture here, and I want to get something straight and something clear. CBS closed a $10.8 billion television deal for a tournament that is played during the school year where teams travel hundreds or thousands of miles to these games, and so-called prestigious schools like North Carolina at Chapel Hill, for example, enroll their kids in bogus classes. And then the NCAA has the nerve to go to the court in a court of law and say education comes first. I mean, are you kidding me? That's so inaccurate. I mean, it's simply untrue.
Yeah, and I don't disagree that it's against the antitrust laws, but how if they come to a settlement, how do they pay players? Do they do it everyone gets $5,000, or do they do it based off winning percentage, attendance? Because that's where it gets a little muddy.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I don't think they should turn it into a business. I think they should deal with it from the top down, and that means maybe restricting television from profiting so enormously like they do, $10.8 billion of money, that's where too much money is. I'm not saying players should be paid. I'm just saying that TV executives should not be profiting off
There's obviously
a
lot of money in these college sports, absolutely. And it's just, I find it hard to see a settlement happening soon, but it could happen in the long run, and I think that's what it's going towards, is a settlement in the long run.
I agree with you.
Right. Adrian Peterson of the Minnesota Vikings has been the subject of the press many times this past year due to his court case involving negligent injury to his son. But this time, he is in the press for a completely different reason. The running back from Oklahoma believes he could have gone straight to the NFL coming out of high school rather than spending the required 3 years at college. With the physicality of the NFL, do you think that it's possible to see a player come out of high school again, or do you think everyone should go to college?
I would highly doubt it. I would say stick to college. And here's why. I mean, even some of the top athletes in college, case in point, Tim Tebow, look quite pedestrian in the NFL.
Couldn't agree more.
Right? I mean, Tim Tebow was this athletic machine in college, ran over people. He was big. He was nasty. Came to the NFL, and all of a sudden, he's not so big anymore. He's not so fast anymore.
Right. There's always going to be freaks of nature that may not need college to go, like the once-in-the-lifetime players, the Adrian Petersons maybe. But the thing there's not an argument of why college is bad for an NFL player, really, unless you get injured. But you could do that just as easily in the NFL, especially if you're not trained. And that's where my point comes in. These college weight rooms are so much more advanced, so much more developed than the high school weight rooms. These players will get weight training regimens, eating programs that will help them develop themselves for the physicality of the NHL. Look, I love AP. He's on my fantasy team, but not every guy's an AP that averages 100 yards a game right out of college. These players need more development.
I agree. And hey, if the like we were talking about in the first question, if something happens with money going to college athletes, maybe they'll get paid to play in college.
Exactly.
Stephen A. Smith of ESPN reported last week that Kevin Durant has made Los Angeles his, quote, primary objective for next year. Durant responded by saying, quote, he's lying. Now, Stephen A. fired back in his radio show, ending a long tangent with, quote, you don't want to make an enemy out of me. At what point does the media go too far when trying to defend their reports that many times end up being wrong?
reporters defending their stories become too much when they become the news, Ben. When they become the news. Stephen A. Smith is making this story about himself. If he is so confident in his reporting, he would let it speak for himself. He is attacking Kevin Durant. He is saying, you don't want to become my enemy. You do not berate a source. This is mind-blowing. That a reporter with that much experience would berate a source. You sever that connection. What is he doing?
I agree. And you know what? I'm actually going to take a small jab at Stephen A. Smith here. And the reason is, I think the way he reported it was deceptive at first. He said primary objective. And then in his defense, he said, let me read something here. He said, my sources say KD is considering the Lakers, Knicks, Wizards, and Heat. I can only go by my sources. That's not lying. Well, that's not really what you said.
You said primary objective.
You said primary objective. You didn't list those other teams.
And exactly, right what you were saying. The object of a reporter, the duty of a reporter is to report the facts, and that's it. You shouldn't have the story become part of you. And whenever he walks into a room now, it's going to be a hostile environment with any source.
I agree with that. I think that Stephen A. was trying to put a little pizzazz on his own report.
Exactly. As people were turning their calendars from September to October last week, the NFL was turning their attention to a milestone for Roger Goodell and his staff. The NFL went 29 days, almost a full month, without having a player arrested until Dorial Green Beckham was arrested on the last day of September for unpaid parking tickets. While NFL players have a lower arrest rate than normal 20 to 39-year-old males, public perception does not always view it that way. So how much will this almost free month of no arrest affect PR for the NFL?
Well, I think if it was affecting it so positively, you might already see something. I don't really see anyone changing their opinion. I think it is a problem for the National Football League, the amount of players who get arrested. I saw a 2013 report that said 72% of crimes committed by NFL players are either DUI, assault and battery, or drug possession. Those are not good things.
Well, yeah, and I think it's a good thing that we've gone 29 days without any of those coming up.
Right.
So I don't think this can't hurt the NFL. Obviously, this can only help. But my key is I'm not convinced yet. I think I need a few more months to see if the NFL, these stricter punishments are coming down on players, and we see maybe 2 months or 3 months without arrest. And so if they tackle the regular season first, that's great. But what they really need to focus on is the offseason, when players have so much time to get in trouble. So if they tackle the offseason, maybe I'll be on their side about that.
I'm with you. I think it has a lot to do with the season starting. And also, I will throw this point in there. These guys are making a lot of money. They're financially stable. When you're financially stable, you have the luxury more than the average person to really watch yourself, right? You never have to stretch. There's no reason to steal a loaf of bread, for example, because you're trying to feed your starving child.
And no reason to end your season early by getting arrested so early in the season.
I totally agree with you. All right, let's move on. The Washington Nationals have cleaned house. GM Mike Rizzo fired manager Matt Williams and his entire coaching staff after missing the playoffs. The Nationals were overwhelming favorites in the NL East. Vegas even had them as World Series favorites. Connor, who is the most to blame for the Nationals' crash and burn?
I think it's a combination of two. I think it's Matt Williams first and foremost, and then it's good hitters playing poorly this year. Matt Williams has had problems in his past and this year with bullpen management.
Absolutely.
Whether it's not having pitchers warm up and then not bringing them in, which is a huge blow to a pitcher's confidence and really messes with their mojo. Whether it's Drew Storen not pitching 3 games in a row, which Matt Williams is that's like his Bible right there, as he says, I will never pitch a player 3 games in a row, when sometimes you might need to. But then if you look at the batters, the Anthony Rendones, Ian Desmonds, Jason Worth, who combined for a 2.4 WAR total this year, Bryce Harper accumulated a 9 WAR total. He accumulated half of his team's WARs. People got to help him.
I agree. And Bryce Harper had a huge year, so I don't want to attack him too much here, but I do think he needs to grow up as a leader. He needs, I saw an incredible player out of Bryce Harper this year, but one thing I would not say about him is that he's a leader yet.
He needs to start growing up more. I agree.
I agree. I mean, when you hit a pop-up, you got to run to first base. I mean, I'm sorry, but I agree. In that instance, Jonathan Papelbon maybe overreacted, but you have to set a good example. That's part of being the best player on the team. No matter how good you are, there's no special rules.
Yeah, and if they had surrounded him with better players, his attitude might have changed a little bit. But obviously, this is a young player, part of that so-called entitlement generation that they keep labeling them as.
I know.
So maybe he needs some help around him to improve his attitude and improve the team.
And maybe he needs a better coach, like you said. Matt Williams maybe hasn't taught him how to be a good leader.
Exactly.
Let's take a timeout. I'll talk baseball with Tim Kraus and Eric Destefano when we come back right after this. Break out the lucky sweatshirts. It's time for October baseball. Ben Greenberg here with Eric Destefano, Tim Kraus. We're going to play one-on-one, pitcher against hitter. The pitcher will throw out a prediction, and then the hitter will argue against it. All awards, single, double, triple, or home run based on that argument. Most total bases wins. Let's get started. Tim, you're on the hill.
All right, so my first pitch of the evening is going to be that both managers will leave their starting pitcher in the AL wildcard game too long. So the most effective strategy, unless you have an elite pitcher, which I don't consider either Keuchel or Tanaka to be, is to take him out early in the game and use your extended bullpen and utilize matchups, and that will give you the best chance of winning the game.
You don't think that with Tanaka having a little bit of elbow soreness really all year, he hasn't been completely right, even though his numbers have been decent. You don't think Girardi's going to be a little bit safe with him, especially
Do you trust Joe Girardi to do anything?
Potentially, if the Yankees are ahead and they're up big, I could see them pulling Tanaka.
All right, listen, Joe Girardi is not the perfect manager, but the one thing he's great at is managing a bullpen. I'm sorry, Eric, you hit a double there. That's a double. What do you got?
All right, fine. The second pitch is going to be in the AL wildcard game. The winning run or runs are going to come from the long ball. The Astros were second in Major League Baseball in home runs as a team. The Yankees pitching staff allowed the second most home runs in the American League. I think the Astros are going to win this game, and I think they'll score their runs via the long ball.
I just think the bullpen's too good. You've got Betances and then potentially Miller closing it out if the Yankees are ahead in the ninth. I just think it's way too good of a bullpen this year, especially the back end. I don't think it'll be off a home run ball.
Fair. A solid point, another solid point. I'll give you a single there. I'll give you a single. Nothing crazy. What do you got? Third pitch of the inning.
All right, third pitch of the inning is that if the Yankees take a lead into the seventh inning, the game is over. Go home, Houston. It's done. Because their three back end of the rotation pitchers, Justin Wilson, Devin Betances, and Andrew Miller, have been lights out. Miller and Betances together have averaged 14 Ks per nine, and the team as a whole, and those three guys as a whole, have allowed under 1.2 base runners per inning pitch. They're lights out. The Yankees get to the seventh of the lead. Game's over.
That's very difficult to refute, but I actually kind of like the Astros in this game, and I like the Astros to be ahead. I like Dallas Keuchel. I think he's going to be able to pitch deep into the game, get the ball on the ground. So I'm picking the Astros. I don't even think they'll have to face that opportunity.
I tend to agree with you. I think this is the year of the Astros. They've finally broken through. The Yankees just seem a little flat. I'm actually going to give you a stand-up triple.
All right.
For the final one.
Bases clearing triple. Huh?
All right, yes, bases clear.
Come on.
But it's only about total bases, so it's somewhat irrelevant.
Fine.
Let's go to you.
All
You're
right.
on the hill.
Thank you. So my first pitch of the inning is going to be, I'm predicting Steve Bartman shows up at the game tomorrow night. And this has been a thing. Cubs fans are trying to get him to go to the game. Yes, he's the infamous guy who intercepted or interfered with the foul ball with Moises Alou. Okay. I think Pittsburgh is the perfect place for him to show up because if he were in Wrigley Field, I'm not sure how he'd be received. But I think he can kind of disguise himself. And I think he's going to show up. I think he's going to be there.
There's just no way. First of all, the game's in Pittsburgh, as you said. It's not in Chicago. And secondly, after what the Chicago fans did to him in 2003, they didn't have any human decency
it's in Pittsburgh, though.
They were horrible to him.
He'd never go back to Wrigley. No. That's why I think in PNC he's actually probably
after what happened to him, there's no way he goes to another
What if he lives in
Pittsburgh? Let's move on. This is ridiculous.
Do I get a base hit?
That's a base hit. It's a single up the middle. What else you got?
All right, so the over and under in this game is 5.5. And I just don't see it going under. Both teams are solid offensively. Both teams have a lot of power, but I'll get to that in the next question. I don't think that'll be utilized, but that doesn't mean I don't think they'll score runs. I think they'll score about 6 or 7 runs in this game, and that'll push it over.
See, both Garrett Cole and Jake Arrieta are very good pitchers. Arrieta's lights out. Runs are going to come at a premium. The bullpens are solid. I just see this being a very low-scoring game, and I think they might not get to that over-under.
I think that's a fair point, a solid point, but only another single. So the score, by the way, 6 total bases to 2 total bases.
I need a home run.
You need a home run.
Yeah, Tim needs a home run in the 9th. But funny you mentioned home runs. There will be no home runs scored in this game. Arrieta does a really good job of getting the ball on the ground, as does Garrett Cole. And also, Garrett Cole has a really, really good fastball. Arrieta has excellent breaking pitches. And I just don't see, along with the ballpark as well in PNC, it's really hard to hit the ball out to left, and then you've got that high wall and right. You've got some power hitters in this game. I just don't think you'll see a home run in this game.
See, I agree with you that Arrieta's not going to be giving up a home run, but Garrett Cole might. Rizzo and Bryant are more than capable to, and according to the Weather Channel, the wind will be blowing out tomorrow night.
Oh, baby, hold on. You teed it up for him. You teed it up for him with the home run question, and he hit it out of the yard. The wind was behind him. There it goes. See ya. A home run at 6-6.
It's
tied up.
You
know what?
I can live with
We'll have
that.
to bring it to next week.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, sounds good. Ball game over. Let's take a break. Connor's back on the other side with our experts to talk some football. Stay tuned.
Separate raw meats from other foods by using different cutting boards. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back. I'm here with the Destefano NFL experts Connor Cummings and Alex Ofori. I'm going to present a team with a win projection, and our experts will respond by saying whether they think the team will end up over or under this projection. So let's start in New England, the team we always have to talk about first. With Tom Brady at the helm, the Patriots are undefeated coming off a bye. So, Alex, are the Patriots going to go over or under 13 wins?
I'm going to go with the over here. And the main thing I look at with this is not just the tear that Tom Brady's in on, but the schedule. You look at it, they play the NFC East, which we all know hasn't been strong at all the past couple years even. And then even looking beyond that, I think the really tough games looking forward on the schedule will be at the Broncos and at the Colts. But even so, I think both of those teams have also been a little underwhelming this year.
I don't see either of those teams beating the Patriots. Even with a depleted secondary, losing Darrelle Revis and Brandon Browner this year, I think Tom Brady is on a mission this year. He's thrown for 1,100 yards so far, and I don't see any defense in the league stopping this offense.
Yeah, he's made it a point not to just beat, but almost go out and destroy teams on a weekly basis.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
now.
And it seems like they have the Buffalo Bills number. The Dolphins is a disaster at this point. I mean, they're going to have an easy time in their division. But moving down to Philadelphia, the Eagles, Chip Kelly's still there. He's got his offense doing something. I don't know what it is, but do you think they're going to be over or under 8 wins, Connor?
I'm definitely going under at this point. I think the root of the problem is the offensive line. This offense isn't executing because the offensive line isn't working together. They lost 2 starters this offseason, and this next man up mentality that Chip Kelly has isn't working. The offense, the rush game's not working, the passing game's not working. You can't win games without offense.
When I look at the Eagles, I mean, I see a team that lacks an identity both offensively and defensively. They don't have much to work off of. The secondary is better than it was last year, but Byron Maxwell, huge free agent acquisition, he's just been getting torched out there. I mean, some of their backups have been looking better than him.
The defense has looked better, but they can't score points as consistently as the offense.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of with a Chip Kelly offense, but
Absolutely.
they have a huge scoring
I agree
problem.
with both you. And like harp off what Connor was saying is that DeMarco Murray's not happy right now, and I think that's because the offensive line isn't pushing forward like they need to be. But we're going to go across the country here to the West Coast with the Oakland Raiders. It seems like guys like Amari Cooper, Latavius Murray, and Derek Carr really look like the future for this Raiders organization, and it might be an actual bright spot in Oakland. So do you have them over or under 7 wins?
I like the Raiders. They're a nice, young, talented team. I'm going to push, keep it at 7 wins. I think 7 and 9 would really accomplish a lot of improvement for the team. And just looking at them going forward, I mean, they have their #1 receiver, Amari Cooper. They got some great pass rushing over there. And they're, I think one of their bigger downfalls is right now they're in one of the NFL's tougher divisions. So I could see them taking quite a few losses, battling through that AFC West.
But this offense is electric. You mentioned Derek Carr, Latavius Murray, and Amari Cooper, but you also got Michael Crabtree, who's out of nowhere, had a couple 100-yard games so far for this team. This offense is lighting up other teams. And on their defense, you got Khalil Mack, obviously, already, but you also got Alden Smith, who's not really up to speed. I really think this defense will start to come together and give this offense even more opportunities to win games.
Definitely a bright future.
I see them over. I see them 8-9 wins.
You know, I could see this team as either 9-7 or 7-9. I think the difference here is the division that they play in. Going against the Broncos and the Chiefs and the Chargers going away to them is a very tough situation. I think Derek Carr and Amari Cooper need 1 more year to gel together. But now moving down south to Arizona with the Cardinals, they obviously have impressed everyone this year with Larry Fitz coming out of nowhere to have a rejuvenating season. So do we have them over or under 10 wins, Connor?
Absolutely over. I'm thinking this team is 13-3.
Wow.
They've looked phenomenal so far. Heading into this past weekend, they were scoring 42 games average per game on offense, and their defense had 2 interceptions returned for a touchdown on Colin Kaepernick's first 2 passes.
So it helped my fantasy team.
Absolutely.
I mean, the Cardinals,
they gel together on both sides of the ball. they're going to go far.
Yeah, the Cardinals, I mean, just in all phases of the game have been playing really well. Even on special teams, the rookie David Johnson has had a few big touchdown returns. And just looking going forward, I'm also going over, I can't see them coming out of the season with anything less than 12 wins.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little slip-ups later in the schedule. They play the Seahawks twice. I can see a split there. Packers maybe a loss. But other than that, I think they're really one of the best all-around teams in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you look at the rest of that division, they've kind of slipped up this year already. The Seahawks, basically, their season was saved by the refs last night.
It all hinges on Carson Palmer's health, though.
Right, and Larry Fitzgerald being able to keep up the production that he has already.
Yeah, that rejuvenation.
Yeah. That's all the time we have for this over-under block, but when we come back, I will be in the lounge with 2 of our analysts to chat about some of the best sports video games of all time. Welcome back. As a common sports fan knows, your favorite team may not be broadcasted in your area on TV, and the ticket prices have only increased as the years have gone on. An easy way for fans to relate to their team is by playing sports video games. It's cheap, it's interactive, and you have the ultimate control of your team's destiny. So while you all at home are breaking out the snacks and putting your feet up on the table to play the newest Madden game, we are going to discuss our favorite sports video games of all time. So guys, take it away. Favorite sports video games.
Madden 04. 2 words, Michael Vick. Like literally the most overpowered person on that. It really is because like honestly,
how did that change?
Wow, you went there.
I did go there.
Come on, man. We're talking about video games. Leave that behind. Literally, you can play with Michael Vick, and he could be the running back. He could be the quarterback. He could be the wide receiver.
Can he throw it to himself?
I mean, I did that once. It works.
Essentially.
It actually works. So
Hail Mary and catch
it was so good. That was like the beginning of what we see today, like with like Madden 16, Madden 15, like the evolution of the mobile quarterback. But he's the one who started it all.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to go with Mario Super Strikers.
Oh.
Because we're talking
You're going to say a Mario game is one of the best video games of all time?
Mason.
A sports Mario game?
Yes, it's one of the best video games of all time. We're talking about FIFA, but in FIFA, can you kick a ball so hard it catches on fire?
I'm pretty sure that's what Zlatan does. Yeah, that's Zlatan.
No,
yeah, maybe.
Not actual fire.
I don't know.
My mixtape's fire. Yeah.
Your mixtape. Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to 1987 and talk some Mike Tyson punch. I wasn't alive. I don't care. That game will last forever. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out for the NES. You want to talk about hard bosses? The game was specifically designed so it's impossible to beat Mike Tyson.
Do you play with one of those little joystick things? Is that what you have to play with it, or can you play with like a
it's a controller. The NES had the little controller, and you had like 3 buttons, and it was like punch, dodge left,
can't
dodge
beat
right.
Mike Tyson. What's the point of playing it?
No, all you have to do, you have to avoid like any attempt to beat him for the first 90 seconds, and then you can try and beat him. But other than that, it's a one-hit kill. But it's like it's legendary. Like all boxing games like came out of that, like trying to beat Mike Tyson. Can you imagine beating Mike Tyson?
There are other like Fight Night. Okay. It kind of evolved.
Fight Night's decent.
Yeah, Fight Night's decent, but
like nothing will compare to a 1987 game. Like how fantastic is that?
Well, where's the love for the NBA games?
Ooh,
don't get us.
Ooh, we got one.
Okay. NBA Street Volume
2.
Because 1 wasn't good enough apparently.
1 wasn't good enough.
The sequel was better.
Yes.
When has that ever happened?
In video games, apparently.
Back in 2003, it happened.
Not only is the soundtrack the best video game soundtrack.
I disagree
one of the
with
best.
that. I disagree. No.
No, are you kidding me? NBA Street soundtrack is awesome. NFL Street soundtrack is awesome.
Have you heard the new? I love the new FIFA soundtrack.
Dog, get out of here with that.
I'm not going anywhere.
Get out of here with that.
No.
Balls on fire.
Nah.
Zlatan can do that. Will you stop? That is not an argument.
But in NBA Street,
when you
can
get
you do
Game
this?
Breaker,
can
you just float in the midair?
Like literally.
Dunk?
All right, let's get it started. So
do tricks.
Like bow,
then I can pass it off to Chris in midair. He will hang there for 10 seconds.
Bam.
Then you can pass it off to my
literally, just through your legs.
Sit down. Sit down. I'm gonna go with Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, 2000.
Okay, that's respectable.
A 98 rating on Metacritic. Second only to Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. This is a sports game. Every single skateboarding game wants to be Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
You're losing a little bit of credibility because you just compared it to Zelda.
I mean, that's the only game that Metacritic said is better.
Still, you compared it to Zelda.
I'm not comparing it. Metacritic did.
I don't care.
Well,
but
NBA
Street was awesome.
If we're talking about sports video games, I think the Backyard Sports franchise has to be one of the best. So Backyard Football for me with Jerry Rice, Barry Sanders, Brett Favre.
The original Backyard Basketball with Kevin Garnett and Lisa
Pablo
Leslie.
Sanchez was the best player.
Backyard Sports franchise has to be mine. Has to be mine.
Oh, yeah.
Well, while all of you are going out to buy the newest games or trying to find some of the old classics like Mason was talking about, we're going to take a break. But when we come back, Ben will be back at the desk to talk to our hockey analysts about possible NHL expansion locations. Stay tuned.
Danse, balance la cadence, ondule bien tes hanches, au bal du dimanche.
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
The NHL is looking into expansion once again. So here we have Cam Ciesielski and Stu Semonite to argue for cities they believe are worthy of a hockey team. All play commissioner. So give me your best pitch, guys, and I'll pick the winner. We'll start with you.
All right, so we know that the big American pick is Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But Las Vegas is, let's be honest, it's a horrible place to put a hockey team. It's too warm. No one's going to really care about it there. So let's move this team. Let's put it in the Pacific Northwest. Let's put it in Seattle. The reason I say Seattle is because Seattle was able to establish fan bases for all their teams. The Mariners, the Sounders, and the Seahawks all draw pretty decent crowds. Okay. Besides the Mariners being, not the best baseball team, the Sounders double the next best MLS team as far as attendance, and all three teams make a decent income, which in the NHL they've been having problems with, as not many teams actually turn a profit. And just there's also a big hockey presence there, so great place to put it, and even have a name for the team, the Washington Wolverines.
There you go. Okay, I don't think it's a bad idea. Your points are duly noted in the commissioner's office. Let's go to you.
So my choice has to be Quebec. And let me start out by saying I thought about doing this proposal in French, to get out to the Canadian citizens that are supporting this project, and they are supporting this project so heavily. There is no guarantee that Quebec's going to get a team, and they've already invested millions of dollars into a new stadium, into putting the infrastructure in place to bring a team back to Quebec City. If they're coming back, I'm calling them the Nordiques. It's a hockey place. If California can have 3 hockey teams, I think Quebec can have 2. Quebec City is the way to go.
All right, guys. Good arguments on both sides. However, I have to side with Quebec. And the reason why I say Quebec is because Seattle, yes, they do have decent fan bases, but they already have the Vancouver Canucks up there, only an hour north of the border. I think that's already too established of a fan base to tap into. You will have no problem getting fans in Quebec City. Of course. Those people love the Nordiques.
Well, even the Nordique fans who lost their team, bringing them back, it's going to be great.
I think they would love it. All right, guys, it's time for a lime change. But when we come back, Connor and I will close it out with possible curse of Taylor Swift. Throughout her current tour, titled 1989's, Taylor Swift has performed at several stadiums of teams that later collapsed, including the Cavaliers right before the finals and the Nationals before they blew a division lead. So, Connor, who do you want Taylor Swift to curse next?
The Nationals. I want her to go back to that stadium and curse them again. Listen, when I get my Sports Illustrated in the mail, my aunt hooked me up with a 1-year subscription here. Okay. Every time I get a baseball preview, it comes up with, the Nats are going to win the World Series. The Nats had the best pitching rotation. They have Bryce Harper. They have Jason Worth. They're going to do great. And then they blow a lead, and then they don't make the playoffs, and then they lose in the playoffs in the first round. This team is the most, I would hate to be a fan of them. They are the most frustrating team because they have so much talent, and they squander it each year. And then Matt Williams, the coach of the year last year, what does he do this year? He just gets fired, just simple as that. They end their season with Harper getting choked out by Jonathan Papelbon, the most annoying player in the entire league. Taylor Swift needs to go back to that stadium, make the lights go out again like she did, and curse that team for a little bit.
Are you done? I didn't want to stop.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, not to deflate, for lack of a better term, this curse, but Miss Swift actually played at Gillette Stadium this summer, and the Patriots look pretty good.
All right.
However, I will say I hope she curses the Yankees. And I actually think it's a blessing in disguise if she does that, because Yankee fans are actually sick and tired, as weird as it sounds, of winning with a team that they don't necessarily like. Yeah. I was looking at tickets for the Mets playoffs versus the Yankees playoffs. Yankees tickets started at $20, okay? You couldn't get into Citi Field for less than $150. I mean, I think this team needs to suffer a little bit, rebuild, totally start from scratch, and then the fans will come back.
And they can rest on their 27 World Series rings.
Absolutely. Hey, if you ask a Yankee fan, that's all they talk about.
That's all they talk about. They won't let you forget. After this block, the 1989 tour may brew up some bad blood. See what I did there? Between the Yankees and Nats, if Taylor Swift wants to have a concert there. But that's all the time we have for this episode of One-on-One Sports. A huge thanks to our producers and crew for putting on a fantastic show. Another big thanks goes out to you, the viewer, for tuning in, and we hope that we gave you all the information in the sports world you need to tide you over until we come back after our fall break. I speak for all of One-on-One Sports when I say thanks for tuning in, and as always, be shy and you want.